Giant Snake, Assassin's Creed Origins. Bellec takes part in a strange ritual in order to find his son's killers, which involves him hallucinating an intense battle with a giant snake. This snake is Apep, the ancient Egyptian embodiment of chaos, and Bellec takes the place of Ra, who does battle with Apep every night so that the sun will rise the next day. With just a mythical bow of light on your side, fighting this extraordinary snake is a daunting challenge. The snake is capable of disappearing from sight and dispatching poisonous ranged attacks, making it a truly nightmarish foe. Dodging and persevering are your only tactics for this fight. Don't get hit, and don't stop shooting. Goodwin, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. One of King Alfred's Templar agents, Goodwin is a formidable knight. Though Assassin's Creed is today known for its fights against massive mythical monsters, the new combat systems can really shine when Eivor is pitted against someone else with a sword or shield. And what a shield Goodwin has. It's huge and will block a lot of your attacks, making it vital to learn his patterns and exploit the weak points in his legs. If you're underleveled, it's still possible to beat the fight by playing smartly, but it's gonna take a long time because he has a huge power level of 340. Some people have made him look easy though, taking him down with no weapons or armor. Erymanthian boar, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Some of the animals in the long-running, far-reaching Goddess's Hunt quest are pushovers, and others will take you dozens of tries to beat. The Erymanthian boar is one such fight. Like the first Caledonian boar wasn't bad enough, the Erymanthian boar steps things up a gear by dealing poison damage. The boar in the legends needed Hercules to defeat it, who subdued it and carried it all the way to Arges. One of the best methods players found for beating it is to earn a high bounty and trick the mercenaries into following you to its lair. Pay off the bounties just before you enter the fight, and they should aggro the boar as well. Lucius Septimus, Assassin's Creed Origins. One of the most powerful members of the Order of the Ancients, it's Septimus who is pulling a lot of the political strings behind the scenes, enlisting Caesar and Cleopatra in his schemes. He's a worthy foe for the in-game final boss, fought by Aya rather than Bellec, and has a lot of complex moves and attack patterns to memorize. However, what makes the fight trickier is that Aya and Septimus will constantly taunt each other while they battle. While the dialogue is a nice touch that adds to the weight of the encounter, it's definitely distracting and can really throw you off, especially if you keep dying and have to hear it over and over again. Jack the Ripper, Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Wolf brought ill tidings.
From the start it was a kind creature, but our mistrust and cruelty have robbed the poor wolf.
During Syndicate's Jack the Ripper DLC, Evie is called back to London after a long time away because her brother has become the chief suspect in the Whitechapel murders. It's down to her to prove Jacob's innocence and catch the real Ripper, who turns out to be a former assassin recruit seeking to remake the Brotherhood in his own image. He's a difficult combatant, able to block and counter every single one of Evie's attacks. The only way to take him down is by repeatedly escaping and performing various stealth assassinations, which isn't easy given the small arena and his relentlessness. He'll also send lackeys after Evie and seems nigh unkillable. It was definitely a fight worthy of all the build-up.
Here you die.
Sobek, Assassin's Creed Origins. The second deity fought in the trials of the gods, Sobek was always going to be tough. This giant humanoid crocodile is the ancient Egyptian god of the Nile, and it may have also once been believed that the pharaoh was Sobek in human form. Fittingly, you'll find Sobek in the swamps of the Heraclean Nome, the northernmost point of the Nile before it opens into the Mediterranean. He's definitely difficult, and you'll need to be the highest level in the game to be within a shot of beating him, but his tactics are too similar to the previous god of the Trials event to be any more challenging. Simply put, Sobek doesn't have the element of surprise on his side. Loki, Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
You are out of favors, trickster, and you are welcome to try.
During the Asgard sequence, Eivor, now playing the role of Odin, or Havi, has to go toe-to-toe with Loki, who's furious about the treatment of his son Fenrir. He's one of the most famous figures in the Norse pantheon, so you know they worked hard on this boss fight. It's just him and Odin in an icy arena, but is made all the more complicated by his teleporting attack. It's the teleport alone that makes this tricky, because he can disappear and then attack from any angle. He's also very liberal with the teleport, using it non-stop to constantly get the drop on you. You can't let your guard down with this trickster at all, even when you think you have the upper hand.
You meant to have me killed! I will never forgive that.
Bellec, Assassin's Creed Unity. Pierre Bellec was a master assassin who worked with Charles Dorian and took Arno under his wing after they met at the Bastille. Bellec taught Arno everything he knew, making his betrayal halfway through Unity all the harder to deal with. It turns out Bellec turned on the assassins to stop them from making peace with the Templars throughout the chaos of the French Revolution, but Arno's loyalty to the Brotherhood put them at odds. A dramatic fight at the top of the Sainte-Chapelle ensued, leaving the player wrestling with killing their former mentor just like Arno. It's the trickiest fight in the game, and you'll need to have unlocked specific skills to beat him. Puka, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. While pursuing the druids through Ireland in Valhalla's first DLC, Eivor will encounter a formidable beast called a Puka. More familiar to you or I as a werewolf, the Puka is a violent beast that attacks Eivor through a thick cloud of fog. It will also transform back into an ordinary world from time to time, forcing Eivor to pursue it around the large arena. When in its werewolf form, it's fast and deadly, and you'll need to be able to dodge and parry effectively to avoid getting staggered. The green fog also makes the fight much harder, significantly reducing visibility, and you'll be fighting numerous high-level enemies as well. Arges, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. The king of the Greek pantheon, Zeus is famous for wielding mighty bolts of lightning against all those who stand in his way. But Zeus didn't get his lightning from nowhere. The thunderbolts were actually made for him by the Cyclopses, and one in particular, Arges the Bright One. So it stands to reason that he'd be a pretty tough boss to beat when he was added to Odyssey post-launch. What makes Arges so much harder than the other Cyclopses is he deals a lot of fire damage, fighting the Misthios in an arena of lava while throwing fire bombs. If he lands just one of those bombs, he'll probably have to start over. Caledonian boar, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Early on in the game, you'll meet Daphne and she'll give you the long Goddess's Hunt quest. You need to travel to Greece to defeat various legendary animals. The one nearest to Daphne, however, and therefore the one most players will fight first, is also arguably the hardest of all. The Caledonian boar is a vicious beast, especially if you're fighting early on. You may not have unlocked the ability to heal during combat yet, and even when you've mastered its attack patterns, it's still able to take you down with 1 or 2 hits. It also summons various smaller boars during the fight, making it even harder. Basim, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Veteran players will have trusted Basim from the beginning because, after a 5-year hiatus, we finally had a true assassin in these games again. However, trusting Basim is absolutely the wrong thing to do. He has his own machinations and is manipulating Sigurd from the beginning, forcing Eivor to fight him. He makes use of all the assassin tricks players will be familiar with, including smoke bombs, and you'll also have to do some complex platforming as you chase him through an Isu vault. He even catches Eivor with the hidden blade, and can only be defeated by Eivor and Sigurd working together. The Minotaur, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. The unholy offspring of a sacred bull and the queen, the Minotaur was so dangerous and shameful that an elaborate labyrinth was constructed to hold it. This legendary monster is one of the Isu remnants you have to hunt down, while navigating the labyrinth found deep underneath Knossos Palace. The Minotaur is one of the most unique and exciting bosses in the game, posing a challenging fight in a small arena where it can be difficult to dodge or use ranged attacks. You need to stay up close with the monster, parrying and blocking his attacks to take him down. Anubis, Assassin's Creed Origins. The Trials of the Gods quest started with a bang by having Bellec immediately face down with the Egyptian god of the dead, the jackal-headed Anubis. Located in the Great Sand Sea, as you get close, Anubis will rise out of the desert to meet you. As the first giant humanoid god you fight in Origins, Anubis is easily the best and most difficult, employing tactics and moves not yet seen in the game. He'll send undead minions to fight you, monstrous canids, and deal nasty area of effect attacks. Keep moving and don't lose sight of the enemies crowding you, or you can be quickly overwhelmed. The Builder, Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
A quiet crossing might be best.
When you first encounter the Builder, he's not exactly formidable, but eventually Norse magic begins to take hold and the Builder reveals his trick, becoming a gigantic blue warrior hell-bent on taking down Odin. His hammer has a lot of ranged attacks and a very large swing, but if you stay too close, he's going to do an area of effect attack to knock you away. And that's just the first phase. He'll then do a power-up, and the fight gets even harder, especially if you entered Asgard a little early and you're under-leveled. Make sure you go in with plenty of arrows to make those all-important headshots. Mualim, Assassin's Creed. The first game introduced us to the primary lore and gameplay that all subsequent games will be based on. Specifically, that you'll be routinely assassinating targets and hunting down legendary artifacts. But the very first final boss in the series is difficult because it catches you completely off guard after a game of insta-kill counters and one-hit assassinations. Mualim betrays the Brotherhood to wield the Apple of Eden's almighty power himself, and so Altair is pitted against a superpowered villain with powers you've never seen before. He clones himself, teleports around the battlefield, and sends your own brothers to fight against you. Balor, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Also in the Wrath of the Druids DLC, Balor is an optional boss you could potentially miss. He's also one of the best and hardest bosses in the game, as well as one of the more visually interesting characters Eivor comes to blows with. Boasting a great sword with massive range and leaping attacks that mean he's never too far away, mastering the dodge timings is absolutely imperative for defeating him. The fight takes place in a simple arena with just a few stone pillars for cover, leaving you nowhere to hide. The second phase grants him more attacks, more damage, and the ability to shoot a giant laser from his head. El Impoluto, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. Chaotic naval combat returned with a vengeance in Black Flag, as players took the role of Pirate Edward Kenway. But as part of his long journey from the destitute privateer to a master assassin, you could choose to hunt down 5 legendary ships, which stalk the waters of the Caribbean and attack anyone who draws too near. The nastiest of all is El Impoluto, a Spanish warship that's bigger, faster, and more damaging than all the other legendaries combined, and it also happens to be the only man-o-war with a ram. You definitely don't want to run into this ship unprepared or underleveled, or you won't get out alive. Fenrir, Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Brothers will fight one another. Kill one.
You speak in riddles.
You already fought the father, now it's time for the son. Fenrir will be very familiar to fans of Norse mythology because he's prophesied to kill Odin, who, of course, is Eivor. Eivor, along with Tyr, go on a mission to bind Fenrir to protect the other members of the Norse pantheon. Fenrir doesn't take kindly to this and bites off Tyr's hand, just like in the legend, before he and Havi do battle. It can be tricky to land a solid hit on Fenrir because of his height and agility, not to mention his ability to tunnel around underneath the arena. The orange lightning doesn't make the battle any easier, and it only ends once you finally bind the beast. Medusa, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. The last and most frightening Isu remnant you'll encounter on your Odyssey, Medusa definitely didn't disappoint. Found hidden deep within a petrified forest on the island of Lesbos, you won't stand a chance unless you have all the overpower abilities unlocked and maxed. You'll also need to make sure your weapons are the most powerful ones you can get your hands on, upgraded to meet your level. You've got to hide from her sight while fighting off legions of petrified soldiers she sends your way, and only then does she become vulnerable to damage. But barely. She constantly teleports out of reach, capable of powerful ranged and melee attacks. It's a long, arduous fight where one wrong move can spell doom.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, there's more where that came from.